Well, good morning, guys. Welcome to Words from a Friend podcast. I'm your host, Marty Carey, and this is the podcast that follows my book, Words from a Friend, a daily guide to a purposeful life. It's available at Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. We're on a 365-day journey together in the light, learning about your light, learning how to wield it, and leave your ego out of it, out of the conversation. May want to conversate, but you're going to have a whole new way of dealing with that this year. It's called letting go. It's called letting it go and learning how to do that in the present moment much easier than you've ever done before. That's the journey we're on together. One day at a time, my friends, one day at a time. We can do anything for that one day, never knowing if we have another day to do it. So that's why we give our best, our brightest, and our highest quality to that day. Our highest quality what? Our highest quality life force, our energy. Okay? And that's a gift when you're giving your highest quality. It allows other people to go, oh yeah, let's have a good time instead of complaining, bitching, and moaning. Let's have a good time instead while we're here doing this thing that we may not care about doing so much. But let's do it in our light. So, we go home saying, we kicked its ass. We got that hard stuff done, but we did it in a great way. In the great way. In the great way. So today's message, February 10th, day 40 already. Day 40. I remember thinking, I got to try and just get 10 of these things done. Then I know I'll launch. Then I know myself will launch. Like I talk about every day. You go to the gym for a week and then you're kind of in the launch. You feel good. You feel, okay, I got this. Right? I got this. I'm telling you, it's something new. I mean, I've done this podcast before, but just for the voice, it's on there. You can listen to those old episodes on Spotify and whatnot. I've done this before, but I didn't do it following day to day. I just went through some messages I really liked and that kind of stuff. So this is more of a commitment for me. And saying I got to do 365 of these. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. We're gonna do it together. I'm really happy to have you here, and I'm really happy that it's helping so many of you. And I so appreciate the messages that I'm getting. And listen, it's what it's all about, right? Spreading the good stuff so that we can all live a better journey here and remember who we are and how to do it right. I always feel like when we were kids in the 70s, it's like we had it pretty good then, There's not a lot of bullshit. It was just pretty simple. But I think that's what, when you get to my age, that's where bread was 5 cents. I used to walk through 20 feet of snow, It's all the young kids now. But listen, there's lots of wisdom in these old bones, right? Because we all lived it. We want to spread that and hand that down to our kids, the good stuff. It's like, but we don't really ever tell them to have a great time because it's like you worry about them having too great a time. Sure, because we had too great a time. But you know what? That's what prayer is for. That's what asking for protection is for, and getting us through and having the grace to get us through some of those times we never thought we were going to make it through. Right? God got us through those times. That's why the most important prayer to say out of these lips is thank you, gratitude, appreciation, knowing where that life force comes from. Right? That's the key. That's the foundation of a great life and a life well lived, because you're going to be in a giving life. You're going to be a giver. And the giver is an instant receiver, because when you give out that light, it comes back to you in some way, even if it's not appreciated in that moment by whoever you're giving it to. God sees to it that light comes back to you in some beautiful way. Small, big, doesn't matter. Be aware and say thank you whenever you see that stuff coming. We say thank you for all of it because it all leads to that stuff. Even the ugly stuff leads to the good stuff. It's like the storm and then the rainbow that comes after the storm. God sees to it. We get back to a rainbow. All right? You got to believe in yourself. And you got to get through those storms, right? Knowing that God's with you, even though it can look ugly. And it could be hard as hard gets. Okay? If you're going through that right now, know that there is light again that's coming. Okay? You're in the tunnel. There's lots to learn in that tunnel. It's not just sadness or grief or worry or fear. There's that little spot of light in that, the yin yang symbol, where there's the black on one side and the white on the other, like two fish, and the eye on each side. So on the black side, there's a white eye, right? Well, that's the light in the darkness, because we never are in darkness where the light isn't, because we are light. We are light. And we can fall into darkness. We can fall into listening to our ego. We can fall into listening to fear. And that takes us down to our basement. It takes us down to our basement, all right? Where there's lots of old collected fears. And those things sit in there. Those old worries, that becomes a habit. I know about worrying. Oh, man. I think the term for us when I was young was, oh, he's a worry wart. As if worry wasn't enough, you had to add a wart to it. Let's put a wart on top of that worry and make it even uglier, right? Worry's ugly. You're not saying I trust you. You're saying I'm scared shitless here. I need to trust something here, right? Right. Well, that's it. Knowing that you are so much bigger than that worry, knowing that God is so much bigger than that worry, and knowing that if the worst happens, that's in your mind, He's going to get you through that too. Okay? And then in time, right? It takes time. That's what we're here to have. We're here to have all of these experiences, positive and negative. Okay? And so what do we do? What's the remedy for all of it? It's the same thing I talk about every day. Love conquers all. Love conquers all. So that when you give space to that and you start kicking out the darkness, all the old worries and all the old fears that you didn't believe in God for, what you're saying, I surrender these, God. I surrender this disbelief that I have in me. I surrender it to you. Sorry, I was holding on to that so I could now create more space for you to live in, for light to live in, and for us to make really beautiful decisions from. Loving decisions that become the most meaningful things in your life, right? Meaningful, purposeful. Your cup is just overflowing because you're in the flow. So, geez, I really got off track there, didn't I? Becoming aware is today's message. Becoming aware. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Present moment awareness. It's always the present moment. It's always now. When we're in the future, we could be caught in anxiety unless we're making steps for it in a planning, creative mode. Great. But if you're in the future and you're scared of it, get out of there. Now is when you handle that future. It's always now. You take the steps now. That's how you stay on top of your life, So you get your ship together. You get it together, whatever it is that's off balance, whether it be your finances, whether it be your body, not being healthy, and you really need to get back to it, and you got to quit some stuff that has been unhealthy for you, and that could be very, very hard to quit that. Yes, it can be. But there are people around you that once you make a commitment to yourself of that magnitude, of that nature, there's going to be wings all around you. Wings of possibility, wings of care, wings of can do, wings of I've been there and I know how to help you and I'm here to help you. And it is not easy, but you can call me anytime kind of wings. Woo! That's when you say yes. That's when you say yes to going, I want to live a better life. I want to have a better life for myself, my family. I want to create a better life. I want to have a relationship that I may not be ready for right now, but I want to create myself to be higher quality so that I create and attract a higher quality to me. One that is, where you have truth, just simple, humble truth, in your relationships. It's the best stuff. It doesn't have to be complicated as long as you're walking in that truth and saying, what do I want for myself? What do I want from my partner? Above all, it's always the same thing, it's truth, even if it's ugly, because you don't want to waste your time with somebody who's not living in the truth when you really want to. Relationships aren't easy. That's a commitment, right? That is a commitment. If you're not ready for it, don't do it. No, don't, right? You want to go into one of those saying, yeah, and sometimes it happens where you didn't think you were ready and it just comes upon you and you go, oh, I'm ready. The energy is so good. It's like, this is God. This is a godsend for me, So don't shoo it away. Don't shoo it away because you weren't planning on it. That's God knocking, going, saying, You are ready for it. You just didn't think you were. And I'm sending something really good to your doorstep because I've seen you've been working on it. I see you've been working on yourself. I see you've been what you've really wanted, and I see that you've gotten the characteristics of what you're looking for together because I see you have raised your own level of expectations of yourself. When you raise those of yourself, I'm not talking about perfectionism because that's a whole other ego thing. Perfectionism. None of us are perfect. Everybody grew up with what they grew up with. Everybody had influences where they were. Some of us, we're just, it is just the way it is. So you seek to grow together. It's like you'll see what you want from the other you can draw from them and say, I like the way they do that. I'm going to adopt that. And that's where you start getting together and becoming one in your relationship, like God says, to become one. To become one when you really treat each other as your top priority. You're not second to anything, right? Not only second to God, because God is what keeps everything together. God is the glue. Love is the glue. Truth in that relationship is the glue. Truth is God. Love is God, right? It's the same sauce. So you can't leave that out because that's the truth. That's the real thing. You want a real relationship, you better be ready for one because you have to be real yourself. You have to be real yourself. You can't be making excuses and all this other stuff. You got to be living up to your word. You got to be pouring into the other person's cup, and that's got to be a constant commitment, even when you don't feel like it. Even when the other person's pissing you off, you say, "Okay, let's give some space here. Let's come back in a little while. Let's try to revisit this with a little bit more heart and matter." Right? Our egos had a little time there, didn't they? Right? And if you both know what the ego is. If you both understand the difference between your spirit and your ego in a relationship, then you can laugh it off knowing that you both just went back into past town of all your former conditioned influences, all those old lines your parents yelled out when they were fighting or whatever that may be. These are lines that you grabbed along the way. These are fighting methods you grabbed along the way. Nobody's been trained in having a relationship. Nobody's been trained as where it has to stay in order to have the lasting relationship, right? So becoming aware. Self-awareness is the key to mastering your mind and yourself. Our mind loves to create scenarios about everything, positive and negative, without any regard, most times, to actual facts. It just makes it up because it's like, all right, I've seen people like him. And then you start saying, that person is just like that other person, so I know they're going to do exactly what that. When you really got somebody condemned, that's your ego. No facts, just, made up stuff. It is therefore our responsibility to be a constant gardener of our mind and thoughts. Where are these thoughts coming from? My ego, or am I aware? Am I present and saying, I'm watching my mind? I'm the watcher of what my ego maybe wants to say and do. Right? There's the space you always need. Right? You're watching your conditioned self. That's your soul watching you, right? That's the God watching you. That's God sees everything you're doing. That's your connection to God, right? Direct, the golden thread from heaven to you is part of it, okay? What we many times make up in our thoughts comes out in our words and actions. This creates our lives. Weed that garden every day and only let out the good stuff. That's hard to do, only letting out the good stuff. It sure is. In the beginning. Okay? And with practice, the constant gardener, being the constant gardener, what are we doing? We're chipping away what no longer belongs. We're weeding what no longer is supposed to be in our garden. What doesn't serve our garden growing, it just strangles the growth, right? Vines of the ego, strangling our growth, our light, covering over our light so that we can't grow. That we keep ourselves from growing because we allow weeds to grow over our beautiful vegetables. That's it. We allow it because we're not tilling the soil, looking what doesn't belong anymore, chucking old rocks out of our garden that are heavy that aren't any good for that, and watering and saying, here's the good stuff I want to water. That means you're giving your attention to that, and you're pulling the weeds out and ignoring them once they're gone. Ignore them. If you see more popping up, that's when we talked yesterday. Nip that weed in the bud. You see that coming up like that little, oh, you're trying to get out of hand. You're trying to cause a little, you start a little gossip, and you know that's going to start a fire, and you know it's going to burn, and you know it's eventually going to come back to you. And that's how we self-sabotage. We let it go without wrangling it and saying, what? You old conditioning? You know, I used to do that. I used to do that. You're going to have to get used to saying that when you're letting stuff go. Oh, yeah, I used to do that. Oh, man, it brought me so much suffering if I really think about it. Doing that, being that, serve you. Okay, but you got to be aware of them first. Self-awareness is the path to transforming an average life into a life filled with true happiness, joy, and victory. Victory. Well, victory never comes from a victim mindset, ever, no matter what we've been through. We can feel like a victim, there's no doubt. Life smashes you right in the nuts. You feel like a victim, there's no question. Okay, but your get up, you can't get up in there unless you know who you are and say, oh man, I'm the light. I get up every time. I get up every single time. And that's it. I commit myself to doing that. Keep getting up. And I keep saying, screw that stuff. I'm saying yes to a bright future. I'm going to be my own best friend, my own spiritual warrior. Right? That's the spiritual warrior. Spiritual warrior slaying the old limbs of your ego. You know what I mean? And then finding bigger, brighter circles. Maybe that's it. Finding a new place to work that is just brighter and everybody appreciates you instead of just low energy atmosphere. Find that atmosphere. You know, in our organization, we created it because we lived it. When on the old Daily restaurant, way back when, in the late 70s and 80s, man, when we were working there, man, it was like a movie. It was like a beautiful, awesome, funny movie. And that's why I've been here this long, because we want to keep that movie a-rolling. And we do it with the same energy that we had. Friendship above the other stuff, right? We know we're going to screw up in this world, especially in the hospitality business. You know, there is all walks of life in our business, all walks of life. So you better have a wide understanding and bandwidth in your heart, because everybody comes from different stuff. Everybody's bringing different conditioned selves into that world. So, but you know what? You become a fan where, you know, I'm higher or lower or this or that. It's just nonsense. It's souls. It's souls that this is what they were handed. This is what we are handed, and we're doing our best with it. We're all trying to do our best with what we were handed, right? And then learning for ourselves so that we can grow maybe from what we were handed and hand better stuff down and hand better stuff forward and paying it forward, right? That's the job, baby. That's the job. Okay, but it's not a job. When you do it, you go, this is no job. This is creating the world I want to live in and I want to see, because I'm sick of the other one. And I'm sick of feeling like that every time I look at the other one. Disgust, you know? And listen, we're all participants. We're all participants. We are. And so all I'm saying is turn your light on. Do the 80-20 thing. Instead of 80% watching the garbage, do 80% working on yourself, giving your light, creating stuff. Fun stuff, funny stuff, beautiful stuff, new, whatever it is. Yep, I can't even tell you enough that once you get out of that, once you break the loop of your own hamster wheel and say, what do I really want? How do I really want to feel? How do I really want to live? Yeah, right? Do you ever ask yourself that question, or you just keep going along with what you've been going along with? Or do you sit down and say, I'm going to write this out. I'm going to write this out and make myself some goals and crush each one of them one at a time. Because I want it. Because I want it. I may not have wanted it before, but now I want it. Okay? So, fill yourself. Use your gold. Use your gold and your quality, which will take you new habits to make sure that you are delivering that quality to the world, right? To the ether, so that the ether goes, ah, I see you want change. I see you want positive change, my friend. Yes, let's do that together. You keep doing that, and I will support that. I will support that new way, says the universe. Yes, is the energy you will get, right? You can choose to be low, and the universe will say yes to that too. It'll help you right down that drain because you're the ship. You're the captain of that ship. You turn that ship around yourself and make that decision. You make that commitment to yourself, saying, nope, onward and upward, upward into my heart chakra, where I love to live, where I can love myself first, and then I can pour into the lives in the world around me. If you're at a, let's see, when we decide to embark on a new way of life because our current way leaves us anxious, depressed, or full of self-sabotaging behavior, we must always start with self-awareness. We must be brave enough to study our self-talk. Talk about self-talk. What are you saying to yourself? How are you treating yourself in your mind? Yeah, that's when you become the watcher. You start saying, wow, I've treated myself like crap. I don't really like myself. And I talk to myself in those ways. I look in the mirror and I go, you look like hell. Come on. No. You gotta love what God created. You gotta love it, and that's it. Is where you start. Say, God, help me to love myself. Help me to love myself beyond all of the pain and suffering that I'm holding on to, that leads me to not do that, and not remember who I am as a beautiful, eternal being of light and love. Light and love are the same thing. But I just like to say them both anyway. Sounds good. Light and love. All right. So, do not, let's see. This could be difficult at first because we have to admit to ourselves that we have been on the wrong path or a wrong path for a long time, sometimes most of our lives. Do not let this stop you. It doesn't matter when you wake up. It does not matter, right? When you say, I want more for myself. I want something different. Have you ever allowed yourself to even think that? Have you ever allowed yourself to even think that you could? Because you can. You can. I've seen so many do it from the dust. From the dust. Like, man, I don't know. It's up to them to get back up from that. And everybody's done everything they can. And I see it like a phoenix come out of the ashes. I've seen it. I've had to do it myself. I was in dust. Just helped me out. Yeah. Okay. This can be difficult at first because we have to admit to ourselves that we have been on the wrong path for a long time, sometimes most of our lives. Do not let this stop you. Let the uncomfortable feeling propel you instead of shrink you back into your comfortable, stagnant self. It's going to try. It's going to try. It's like the Godfather. Just when I thought I was out, they're pulling me back in. Your ego's going to try and do that. Listen, it's going to be there. Your ego's going to be there. Okay? All right. It's going to be there. Right? Not so bad once you get your ego going in the direction of your soul. No. Get those two things going together. That is called wholeness. Wholeness. You accept the conditioning and all the stuff that you've had. And you love it because of the lessons that it taught you. You bring it into the light and you let go and say, God bless it. I didn't know. I bless that self too. I bless all the selves that didn't know. I bless them all. You know, self-forgiveness, self-love. It's the eraser of all the crap so that we can glean the gold and say, I'm going to live with this from now on. I'm going to live from this. This is the way I walk in life. This is it. Okay? You must be willing to let go of old ideas and beliefs in exchange for the real truth of who you are and what your true purpose is on this planet. Remember that if you consistently fill your mind with right thoughts, it won't be long until you find yourself living and feeling much better. You're the antidote. You're the be the one that's riding as you. The ego chipping away, body's in tune, right? Mind is connected to the spirit, and the body is one unit. Moving forward, wholeness. The yin and the yang are balanced. They're balanced because you know who you are, you accept your ego for what it is, and you work on it. And you work on creating more space by letting stuff go that you've been harboring. You got boats in that harbor that don't belong there anymore. Big ones, little ones, and barnacles. Okay, so today is the day to start your new life, is the CTA. Life does not have to just happen to you. It's not just random. It can seem like that, but you know, you're attracting who you are. So who do you want to be? Who do you want to have around you? What energy? What energy do you want to create in your life? What world do you want to see? Be that. Embody that world. It's going to be called kindness, empathy, compassion, forgiveness, laughter, love, fun, creativity, yeah, right? Apology, forgiveness. All of those things live as your higher golden tools. When you're using your golden tools, gold must come. It is the law of love. It is the law of love. Use your gold and gold must come. Okay? Use your ego. Ego must come. What do you want? What do you want? Speak to it. Think on it. Be impeccable with your words. Even swear words can be a good filler when you're still impeccable. You're telling funny jokes. That's still impeccability because you're raising the light in yourself and others all at the same time. All right? It is the best stuff of life. Guys, have a great and wonderful, powerful day. Spread your light and live it up. Live it up. See you tomorrow.